Perfect. I'll take this.
Damn, he said he'd be here. Yes.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. And welcome back to the Monterey County Board of Supervisors meeting for March 15th, 2022. Could we have a roll call?
Good afternoon. Let the record reflect all supervisors are present, with Supervisors Askew and Adams appearing in person and Supervisors Alejo, Phillips, and Lopez appearing via video conference.
Thank you very much. I want to welcome everyone to the Monterey County Board of Supervisors' first Regional Water Forum. We've got a planned series of 3 conversations about water supply issues this year. This Regional Water Forum is the outcome of a board referral that I made last fall when I saw a need for the board, our water management agencies, and many stakeholders to have a more thorough, comprehensive, and common understanding of our water supply issues. I want to underscore that this is not a decision-making forum today, but an education and hopefully a collaborative building exercise. I've always advocated for a regional solution for our water problems and have done so since I even ran for public office. But we need to expand our understanding of water problems in other areas of the county, in addition to the Monterey Peninsula, if we want to have any hope of a regional solution and the dialogue needed to make that happen. So as you have heard me say, I am asking you to leave your biases behind and leave your guns at the door and open your mind to a fresh perspective. Today's presentation will be made by Donna Myers, the general manager of the Monterey County, the general manager of the Salinas Valley Basin Groundwater Sustainability Agency, Brent Buki, the general manager of the Monterey County Water Resources Agency. They are joined by Rem Scherzinger, who's the general manager of the Marina Coast Water District Groundwater Sustainability Agency, and Paul Sciutto, the general manager of Monterey One Water. In the audience, I think online, on Zoom rather, I also would like to acknowledge that we have Dave Stolt, who is the general manager of the Monterey Peninsula Water Management District, and Eric Tynan, the general manager of the Castroville Community Services District. They will be able to answer any questions that are pertinent to their agencies. And now I would like to start by inviting the chairs of the boards of these agencies to make some opening remarks. And I'll start with John Bailey of the Monterey County Water Resources Agency. Mr. Bailey.
Good afternoon, Chair Adams, supervisors. I'm happy to see, and just side note, ex-supervisor Lindley in the back. He's a wealth of knowledge and he's been part of this for many, many years in the water. Monterey County Water Resource Agency started 75 years ago as the Monterey County Flood Control District. So we're celebrating our 75th year this year. We've been through good times, bad times, and indifferent times. We've built our projects with local stakeholders' monies, not state or federal funds. That's a big star on our side. We've taken the bull by the horns and solved our own problems. Unfortunately, in today's times, our problems have gotten much larger and statewide. The Orville incident has caused us a lot of issues that we weren't anticipating 5 years ago. Sigma is another issue that has now joined the issue with what we're dealing with. We had one water district for 75 years. 5 years ago, we've got now a state water agency joining us in Monterey County. It's now 2 times 2. Where we go from here is what Chair Adams just said, moving forward in a productive way, common sense, and avoiding litigation at every cost. We've got to move forward instead of being a problem. And if you have a problem, come up with a solution. Don't just stop and say you have a problem. We've got to get beyond our feelings for the future. We've got to move forward and build something that what our grandfathers and our forefathers built down at Naspbiano in San Antonio. We can't let past dealings stand in our way. And from here on out, we have to be very transparent in everything we do. That's, I think, the direction I like to see with the agency. I think Brent's done a great job, and we're pushing that way. Transparency is a big key in any water project we do. My feelings are, as other growers and landowners in this valley, we have enough water in this valley for everyone. It's how we manage it. And that's a key component. And I know we'll get there. We've done good work. I just want everybody to remember, this is the salad bowl of the world, and we grow for food for the world. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Bailey. And next, I would like to ask Colby Pereira, who is chair of the Salinas Valley Basin Groundwater Sustainability Agency. And I believe we have Ms. Pereira online, correct? Excellent.
Here.
Colby, you're up.
Thank you, Chair Adams and members of the Board of Supervisors. Good afternoon, and thank you for hosting this very important discussion in the Regional Water Forum today with a focus on North Monterey County. As stated, I am Colby Pereira, Chair of the Board of Directors for the Salinas Valley Basin Groundwater Sustainability Agency. 2022 was a momentous year for the GSA in that our agency completed the final 5 groundwater sustainability plans for Monterey County. These plans basically lay the pathway for achieving sustainability by 2040 for critically overdrafted high and medium priority basins in Monterey County. Monterey County was instrumental in the creation of the JPA, the Joint Powers Authority, which governs our GSA, along with Monterey County Water Resource Agency, the cities of Salinas, Gonzales, Soledad, Greenfield, King City, Castroville Community Service District, and Monterey One Water. Obviously a very collaborative group. The agency has worked diligently to complete the GSPs as required by the state of California. And now our attention is turned to implementation of the management actions and projects that will maintain and improve the groundwater basins of Monterey County as we've outlined in our plans. The goal of the agency remains cost-effective, sustainable groundwater management that considers the interests and concerns of all beneficial uses and users of groundwater. Today's presentation is intended to provide our community an update on the activities of the GSA and the work ahead to sustain our primary water supplies in the Salinas Valley groundwater basin. We very much look forward to engaging in the continuing water forums hosted by the county, and our staff and board are always available to brief your members upon request. We will need a collective effort to meet the objectives of the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act for the future of our Valley communities, residents, and businesses, and we very much look forward to working with the county on the outcome. Thank you very much for the time today.
Thank you so much, Ms. Pereira. And next, I would like to have Jan Schreiner, who is the board president of the Marina Coast Water District Groundwater Sustainability Agency.
And thank you for this opportunity to speak on behalf of Marina Coast Water District and our Groundwater Sustainability Agency. I am Jan Schreiner, the president of the Marina Coast Water District Board, serving in my 12th year as a publicly elected board member. And this is also my 5th consecutive year as part of the executive committee, which is represented here today with Vice President Herbert Cortez and General Manager Rem Schertzinger. I believe Director Moore will also be present as part of a Zoom, and he has standing with us as past president, longest serving director, 25 years or more, and repeatedly on the executive committee, but he also serves with the board of Monterey One Water, and I understand from General Manager Shuto, he will speak under that category today. I am the first female president of the board since the inception of our publicly owned county water district in 1960. I currently lead a board that is comprised of professionals with backgrounds in engineering, biology, ecology, law, and higher education. I am pleased to say that we are a forward-thinking board dedicated to the success of our community and the region through innovation, current science-based practices, and regional collaboration. being nationally recognized for engineering excellence as a project partner with Monterey One Water on the Pure Water Monterey, demonstrates our commitment to bring additional benefit to our neighboring communities. We also partnered with the SVB GSA and have been able to successfully plan, prepare, and submit the groundwater sustainability plans for the 180-400 and Monterey subbasins. The quality of that partnership is demonstrated in the fact that the 180-400 GSP was one of just 3 plans accepted in the first round of submissions to the Department of Water Resources. We also pride ourselves in our innovation. We were one of the first to work with cutting-edge scientists at Stanford in 2017 to develop and advance aerial electromagnetic surveys, or AEM, the technology now used by DWR to image groundwater basins throughout California. Recently, the district hosted the US Navy and the University of Miami for the global research under coupled oceanic atmospheric mesoscale predictive systems, or COAMPS, to measure wave activity in the bay in an effort to develop tools to predict coastal erosion. I am proud to say Marina Coast Board continues to actively use science-based practices to innovate and participate in a regional role as a county water district. And we look forward to develop regional collaboration for the sake of our present community and future generations.
Thank you so much, Ms. Schreiner. And next, I would like to ask Marianne Carbone, who is the chair of Monterey One Water. And Ms. Carbone, if you would press star 6 to unmute yourself.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, well, thank you. Good afternoon, Board Chair Adams and distinguished Board of Supervisors. I'm Marianne Carbone, and on behalf of Monterey One Water, I want to thank the Board of Supervisors for facilitating today's conversation. Working together as a region is key for our water supply, and Monterey One Water remains dedicated to providing cooperative water solutions. 2022 marks the 24th year of the Kestrelville Seawater Intrusion project, which you heard about today, or will. The collaboration that has produced about 100 billion gallons of recycled water, helping slow seawater intrusion and support our economy. In the past 2 years since Pure Water Monterey has began operations, we've produced almost 2 billion gallons of purified recycled water. This is a great achievement for groundwater replenishment and the Monterey Peninsula. Our area has even earned national recognition for its water recycling efforts. In 2020, the EPA released a National Water Reuse Action Plan. References to Monterey One Water and the importance of water recycling were included. If you check it out, you'll even see a picture of CSIP crops on the cover. We also believe are more important opportunities related to stormwater and urban runoff. We are working with multiple cities to identify potential projects that remove wastewaters from the environment and put them to good use. Monterey One Water remains well situated to support diverse water demands. We will continue to represent the One Water concept as we look for opportunities to benefit the region. Thank you again for hosting today's forum. We look forward to working on behalf of the community to create long-term water supply sustainability. And I must say that I would have been there in person, but I do have a 3 o'clock city council meeting. And so I unfortunately had to call in. So thank you so much for your time.
And thank you for being with us today, Ms. Carbone. I want to offer a big thank you to Donna Myers and to Brent Buki, and also to my Chief of Staff, Sarah Hardgrave, for putting together this upcoming presentation, which I hope that you will find enlightening and you will find informative and you'll find very interesting. So with that, I will turn to Donna Myers to begin the presentation. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon,
Who's morphed
Chair
into Brent
Adams
Buki.
and Board of Supervisors. I am Brent Buki, the General Manager of the Monterey County Water Resource Agency, and next to me is Donna Myers, the the General Manager of the Salinas Valley Basin Groundwater Sustainability Agency. Paul Schuto, General Manager of Monterey One, is in the front, as well as Rem Scherzinger in the front with Marina Coast Water District. So first slide, please. Oh, this is it. Sorry. Today's presentation is the first in a series of presentations that will come before the Board of Supervisors and the public, starting with a century of water in Northern Monterey County, a review and update. The area of focus is here within the greater, so in the green, in the upper left-hand corner, you can see the greater Monterey County integrated regional water management boundary. So the area we're working in is within that and adjacent to the Monterey Peninsula IRWM boundary. Next slide. So when we talk about Northern Monterey County, we have pictures here of from Moss Landing down to Castroville, down the Salinas Valley, and we're looking at the needs for both agriculture and residential, the municipal supply. Next slide. The four entities fitting the pieces together today are Monterey County Water Resource Agency, Monterey One, Marina Coast Water District, and the Salinas Valley Basin GSA. Next slide. However, there are numerous other critical participants. That's the local CSDs, the water purveyors, and the well owners. So the Monterey County Water Resources Agency was established in 1947 as the Monterey County Flood Control and Water Conservation District. It became MCWRA in 1991. We're governed by a 9-member board of directors appointed by the Monterey County Water Resources Agency Board of Supervisors. We own and operate both Naspbiano and San Antonio dams. They provide flood control, groundwater recharge, environmental enhancement, and recreation. And we also provide irrigation water to 12,000 acres in and around the town of Castroville in partnership with Monterey One Water. Paul.
Thank you. I didn't notice the logo. Thank you, Chair, Board of Supervisors. My name is Paul Schuto. I'm the General Manager of Monterey One Water. And certainly as a partner in this presentation, a brief overview of who we are at Monterey One Water. We collect and treat the municipal wastewater for the region. But it's much more than that. We are a regional recycling facility, as you all know. We treat all the water further to state and federal regulations. Since 1998, so for 24 years now, we have been recycling water for CSIP, for agricultural crop irrigation. As Marianne, our chair of the board, mentioned, we've recycled over 100 billion gallons in that time. Approximately 2 years ago, we started up the Pure Water Monterey project, which treats to a further level that is suitable for potable use. All of those projects are collaborative in nature, certainly with the Monterey County Water Resources Agency on CSIP and SVRP. We love our acronyms, of course. And then with Marina Coast Water District, the Monterey Peninsula Water Management District, and others on the Pure Water Monterey project. We certainly feel that this type of collaboration is what the future holds, and whether it's right here or in Soledad, which has a treatment plant that is suitable for recycling as well, certainly for agricultural recycling, we hope that that collaboration can continue, and we are obviously well positioned to help out wherever we can or are needed. And that's all I had.
Good afternoon, supervisors and public and staff. My name is Rem Scherzinger. I'm the general manager for Marina Coast Water District, as well as the Groundwater Sustainability Agency. I'm pleased to be here this afternoon to share a little bit about the district as we seek to understand the resources and opportunities that our region has. For background, Marina Coast is a county water district, which is a subdivision of the state of California and was established under the Water Code 12 in 1960. We are an independent special district delivering water, recycled water, and sewer services to our community. Our service area includes the community of Marina, portions of Seaside, Delray Oaks, and Monterey, and also a small portion of the county at our East Garrison community. We currently serve approximately 37,000 customers, and that number is growing as our community is currently in a strong developmental mode. We have 8 developments currently at Marina Coast, so we anticipate continuing demand on the system as we grow as an organization. But currently, the water system, just for reference, our water system is comprised of roughly 215 miles of water lines, 7 domestic wells producing roughly 20 million gallons a day, with 3 million gallons in standby capacity, 8 storage tanks, 6 pump features, and 5 pressure zones. So quite a sizable endeavor. Beyond that, our sewer system is roughly 155 miles of gravity mains and 6.5 miles of force mains. We operate this whole system through 20 lift stations, producing roughly 2.2 million gallons a day that we send to Monterey One Water for their treatment and reapplication, I guess is probably the best way to say that. Our recycled water system is our newest service, and we're very excited to be bringing this forward. As this portion was done in partnership with Monterey One Water, we essentially put 13.5 miles of pipeline in the ground with 1 tank with a total max day demand of 1.37 million gallons, which is significant. We're in the process of bringing this state-of-the-art system forward by amending our current recycled water permits and anticipate being able to deliver this as a retail service to our customers and our communities in the second quarter of this year. As a groundwater sustainability agency, we work hard. We've worked hand in hand with the Salinas Valley Basin Groundwater Sustainability Agency on 2 very major pieces of our work, and that was the groundwater sustainability plans. This was done, I think, in a very collaborative way, and I think demonstrates the regional horsepower that we have available to us, and something that we as a community can lean in on. So 18400, as Director Schreiner already mentioned, went through, I would say, with a song, and now Monterey is in. And I think Monterey is also a great example of where the 2 entities are working hand in hand, as Salinas Valley Basin is going to be managing our Corral de Tierra area as we manage the Marina and Ord area. So the good thing there is that we're very excited about having completed the planning phase, and we're now into the budgeting and operational phase, and we anticipate bringing our GSA up and operational at the first of the year when our new budgets are cut. In my first year here at Marina Coast, I've come to prize the strength and talent of our staff and the leanness of our organization. It is that leanness that drives our desire to collaborate regionally and look for opportunities to leverage partnerships and bring our expertise to bear on these regional issues. We're very excited to be a part of this, and thank you very much for convening this meeting.
Good afternoon, Chair Adams and the board. My name is Donna Myers. I'm the General Manager of the Salinas Valley Basin Groundwater Sustainability Agency, and I too want to thank the board chair and members of your board in hosting us today and being part of this discussion. And I look forward to the additional forums ahead of us. The Salinas Valley Basin Groundwater Sustainability Agency is a bit of the new kid on the block. We do represent a sea change that occurred at the state of California back in 2014 during the period of drought that we all remember then, where for the first time in history, the state of California passed legislation to begin to require locally driven sustainability plans for groundwater resources. We are a joint powers authority established in 2016. We are governed by an 11-member board of directors comprised of diverse interests from across the Salinas Valley. The Sustainable Groundwater Management Act actually treats all users equally. So any user of water has a voice at the table in a groundwater sustainability agency and any and all work that we do. So we represent across the board agriculture, public utility, municipal supply, county interests, and then also the environmental stakeholders and the need for water to supply water for our actual ecosystems. We have just in January of this year completed 6 groundwater sustainability plans as required by the state of California. We developed plans for the 18400, which is a critically overdrafted basin. And then we have 2 high priority basins, the east side and the Langley. And then we have medium basins with Monterey in a cooperative relationship with Marina Coast Water District, the Monterey subbasin. And then we have the Upper Valley subbasin and the Forebay subbasins. Both of those are considered medium priority groundwater systems by the state of California. And our partner in one of those is the Arroyo Seco Groundwater Sustainability Agency for the Forebay subbasin. We have had to follow the state's guidance in not just looking at the entirety of the Salinas Basin, Salinas Valley groundwater basin, but actually developing plans for the subbasin level. We've involved over 185 participants and stakeholders in these planning efforts. And our board is now positioned to begin to look at implementing these plans. SGMA represents an actual requirement to achieve sustainability for groundwater resources across California and here locally in Monterey County. Northern Monterey County is a very important focal point for us as we start implementation for understanding not only the current conditions of these basins, but also conducting cutting edge science, working with our partners, many of which are here with me today, and then also trying to inform our communities better about what their groundwater resources are facing in terms of longevity and sustainability. We look forward to working with the county and our partners listed here on the slide. We continue to have these representatives come to our meetings every month. We engage as much as we can, and we've tried to keep the state's intent in having local stakeholders develop sustainability plans for their groundwater resources. And I thank you again for being here, for inviting us to be here today.
So for an outline of today, we will highlight 75 years of water infrastructure, water use in the economy, and the 21st century water system. Challenges that we are seeing that are shaping today's water system and infrastructure are the declining groundwater levels, seawater intrusion, flooding, but we also are seeing climate change and drought conditions. This first picture shows inundation of ag land along River Road. This is Highway 68, that main road there. But then there's also a photograph of the construction of Naspbiano Dam. Along the bottom, there's a timeline that identifies seawater intrusion was first identified in the early 1940s. The Naspbiano Dam was constructed in 1957, and San Antonio Dam in 1967. The Monterey One Water, which was formerly Monterey Regional Water Pollution Control Agency, was formed in the mid-70s, and CSIP came online in 1998. The SRDF came online, so excuse me, I'll back up. The Castroville Seawater Intrusion Project came online in 1998. The Salinas River Diversion Facility came online in 2010, and Pure Water Monterey came online in 2020. So when we look at the map of detailing the Salinas Valley, we can see the reservoirs down in the southernmost part of the valley. Then moving upwards, the release, you can follow the river all the way to the coast. So the releases of, the dams provide flood control in the winter and conservation releases during the irrigation season. The valley does not import water, and all the water comes from rainfall. So the existing physical water system, this is a very detailed graphic, but the depiction, the diagram on the left-hand side, you can see the dams to the far right. And then as you go to the left, you can see the river flowing towards the coast. And so you see agriculture, irrigation, you see both municipal pumps and agricultural pumps. And the water that's released from the reservoirs is supplying all of that water. So next slide, please. So we'll focus on the reservoirs, Naspbiano and San Antonio. So the capacity at San Antonio is 335,000 acre feet, but today it is at 11% of capacity. And so that's just over 37,000 acre feet. Naspbiano Dam, maximum capacity is 377,900 acre feet. Today it's at 29% of capacity, which is 108,000, just, oh, on the slide, it says 111,000 acre feet currently. So the groundwater recharge occurs along the river by releases from the reservoir. And so that's naturally occurring when there's rainfall. But during the conservation season, the Water Resource Agency is making releases. It's recharging the groundwater. But as you move further down the river and get closer to the coast, there are aquifers that inhibit the recharge from the surface water at that location. So in that area, the Salinas River Diversion Facility is able to actually use the surface water to supply additional irrigation water to the Castroville Seawater Intrusion project. So on an average, it's about 3,800 acre feet, but that range has been from 0 to a maximum of 7,556 acre feet. And what's really interesting here is the line graph in the lower right-hand corner that shows that the recycled water did, from when we started back in 2010 with the SRDF, we were still seeing an increase in recycled water, then has tapered off, then it kind of bounced up again. But we're seeing a trend of the available recycled water to CSIP has declined. The supplemental wells have historically made up for that, as well as the SRDF that fill in those gaps to supply the irrigation water to that system. So that can be seen here on this slide, that on the average, just about 21,000 acre feet a year is supplied to the 12,000 irrigated acres in and around the town of Castroville. 60% of that's recycled water, 22% is groundwater, and when the Salinas River Diversion Facility is operational, it's 18%. So that's an average from 2010 to 2021. There have been years that the SRDF has not been able to supply water. Next slide. So the CSIP has helped slow seawater intrusion, but you can see on the bar graph here that once the CSIP came online, it did slow down the inundation of ground that was being impacted by seawater intrusion. But it wasn't until the SRDF came online that it really flattened out the top of the acreage that was impacted by seawater intrusion. This next Monday at our board of directors meeting, we will be presenting the latest seawater intrusion lines. So again, we're moving on to Pure Water Monterey. So this is an amazing facility. As you can see by when you look at this picture, I'm amazed by it. It's treating wastewater to, it's a 4-step process that's treating it to state and federal standards. It's using purified water to inject into the seaside groundwater basin for potable use. It's supplying water to CalAM's Monterey district and also for landscape irrigation for Marina Coast Water District. Additional benefits is a reduction in volume of wastewater that would be discharged to the ocean, and the new water sources may benefit recycled water users in the summer. So when we identify the drinking water systems in this area, you can see that there are three main types: this local and small systems, 2 to 14 connections, which are in the orange. The public water system, 15 to 199 connections in that pinkish red color. Then the larger systems that just have the dark green outlay. And so there are significant municipal supplies occurring within this region. So the further challenges that we are seeing when we're analyzing the needs are, again, it's declining groundwater levels and overdraft. It's seawater intrusion along the coast. There's risk of seawater intrusion in the deep aquifers. There's naturally occurring arsenic, climate change, surface water pollution, environmental habitat degradation, and nitrate pollution.
So that cues me in my role and our role as an agency, as I mentioned earlier, with the first time in state history with the passage of the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act. And the unique thing about SGMA is that it really is intended to give local communities and local agencies the authority to physically manage groundwater in a sustainable manner over a defined period of time. The state has given us that timeline. We must reach sustainability by the year 2040, and we must remaining sustainable in those groundwater basins till 2070. The State Department of Water Resources and the State Water Resources Control Board both have oversight for SGMA. The State Department of Water Resources is really the planning, scientific arm, and implementation arm, providing both funding for planning for the groundwater sustainability plans, as well as also providing resources for implementation of projects and management actions as we move forward in working towards sustainability in the subbasins. The State Water Resources Control Board retains oversight with regards to agencies that may become non-compliant with regards to subbasins that aren't reaching their goals towards sustainability. They do have the right and can work with the state to actually come in and work locally, but basically would have the right to come in and do that work on their own as the state, should sustainability goals not be achieved in the timeline set by the state. GSAs are local agencies comprised of, in our case, a local joint powers authority. And what we are really meant to do is to coordinate the plans, implement, and then achieve the sustainability. We have to do annual reporting every year to the state of California for all subbasins that we are responsible for as a GSA. As mentioned earlier, we are in partnership with the Marina Coastwater District on the on the Monterey subbasin. And the 18400 subbasin plans. We are in partnership with the Arroyo Seco Groundwater Sustainability Agency on the 4-Bay subbasin plan. We also have the Upper Valley subbasin plan, which is in the southern edge of Monterey County. And then we have worked in both the Langley subbasin and then the Corral de Tierra management area, which is part of the Monterey subbasin plan. Our stakeholders, we operate with stakeholder-driven implementation committees for each of our groundwater basins. And those stakeholders work with our board and our partners on setting expectation and helping to guide decision-making and actions, specifically looking at priorities on projects and also on management actions to pursue. All of our plans to this date have all been locally developed, and we do intend to continue to follow that course as we move into management. Next slide. So what the state has done really with SGMA is they've given us 6 benchmarks that we must measure our conditions in our groundwater against now. These are what are called sustainability indicators, and they are the guiding force behind how SGMA will govern and also guide communities towards better groundwater management and sustainability. One is the actual lowering of groundwater levels that may be being experienced within a groundwater basin. Secondly, would be whether the basin has actually lost storage, whether there is physically a loss of storage within the groundwater basin. Seawater intrusion is also a sustainability indicator as identified by the state. Degraded water quality of groundwater is another indicator of sustainability. And then land subsidence and surface water depletion were the last two sustainability indicators. Monterey County in general has not seen any land subsidence. This is different than some of the news you see about the Central Valley, where land subsidence has been quite substantial. But the other indicators are very much on our minds as we enter into implementing our plans. And we have identified unsustainable conditions according to these criteria in 4 of our subbasins: the Langley, the Monterey, specifically in the Corral de Tierra area, the 180-400, and the East Side subbasins. Next slide. As you can see, this is a graph of those 4 basins, and the graph is going the wrong direction if you're trying to get to a sustainable supply of water through using your groundwater resources. Each of these show one of those 4 subbasins. The East Side is in blue, the 180-400 is in orange, the Langley is in brown, and the Monterey Corral area is in green. What you'd like to see is, the sustainability of not looking at a graph that is showing basically a decline over time. This is a period of record from 1940 to 2000, where we again see basically an overdraft signal in each of these basins. And so to orient the public today, I want to make sure we understand some of the communities that are living in these areas. So the Langley Basin is near the Prunedale area. The Monterey, as I mentioned, includes the Corral de Tierra community. The 180-400-foot aquifer basically is part of the city of Salinas, as well as the community of Castroville, and a number of domestic users and agricultural users in that area. Similarly to the East Side, the East Side is just a little bit to the west. The city of Salinas is right on that border there, but those are the communities that we're looking to work with to sustain groundwater resource into the future. Next slide. Seawater intrusion, as Brent just mentioned, is one of the most important things that we have to work on right away due to the timeline to achieve sustainability by 2040. These are graphs of the 180 and 400-foot aquifers, both of which are intruded by seawater and have historically been since the mid-40s. Despite really good work with the Castroville Seawater Intrusion Project, there is still much work to do, especially with regards to moving these lenses back and avoiding important communities like Castroville, and who have already started to experience contamination in drinking water wells. So this is a prime area of focus for our agency in the very near future, is really looking towards addressing the seawater intrusion issues. Next slide. We also have embarked on a scientific study, a 2-year scientific study of the deep aquifers, which underlie the 180, 400, and 400-foot aquifers within the northern Monterey County area. These aquifers can reach limits of 1,000 to 1,200, maybe even deeper. They really have not been documented in any significant scientific studies, and we're working in a partnership with all of our agencies to co-fund a 2-year study to further define and come up with management recommendations regarding the deep aquifers. Our partners in this include all of the domestic water providers, as well as Monterey County Water Resources Agency, the County of Monterey, the Castroville Community Services District, Alco Water, Cal Water, and Marina Coast Water District as well. And we have created a cooperative funding group that is tackling this. This becomes one of the most important features in the groundwater story of Monterey County, especially northern Monterey County, as we move forward. Next slide. So every day, we're always thinking about the challenges. Brent and I talk most days, as do my other general manager partners. Obviously, some of the most important things we're looking at right now are climate change and drought. We're into basically 8 or 9 years into probably a decade or longer drought. We're looking at that irregular precipitation and surface water. And as you've just learned, those are critical things with regard to how our groundwater basins are sustainable here in Monterey County due to those recharge elements from the water infrastructure that Brent just explained. We're also not only looking at reliability in terms of supply, but also quality of water. And we're keep our eye on the increased demand projections with the state of California also requesting local communities to build more housing and to expand as needed. And then finally, we also keep in mind the cost of water, especially for communities who are of lower incomes. We want to make sure we're not losing track of how ensuring a safe water supply may actually force people out of reach of actually being able to be sustainable here with their families. We also look to the environmental and permitting requirements that always can make a project last for multiple years, longer than we all think. And then the complexity of funding projects. I do want to recognize Mr. Bailey's comment recently of really local investment in maintaining water infrastructure in Monterey County. And I think that's been an important role for a long time. But we do look at a variety of complexity of projects coming online, and funding will be something we all need to discuss and work cooperatively on. Next slide. Also, finally, we do want to recognize that water really is the lifeblood of Monterey County, and that there's an interdependence of water with both our economic outcomes here in Monterey County, as well as our social values around our communities and who make those communities up. I think you've learned already this afternoon, that we have relationships with our neighbors and that there's an interrelatedness of aquifers in northern Monterey County that we've come to learn more about and are embarking on new science and new modeling so we can learn even more. And I want to specifically mention the Seaside Basin, which is an adjudicated basin. It does not fall under SGMA, but is certainly a partner agency and an important groundwater resource we always are keeping our eye on as well. Finally, we have recognized over the last 4 years of planning with this new state law coming into play in our local community that collaboration will absolutely be required for our success, and that we have to plan these in a very strategic, coordinated, but we also have to have an urgent approach to what needs to be completed here in northern Monterey County, especially in the coming years up to 2040. Next slide. Just a couple quick facts about northern Monterey County. It's about 9.2% of the Monterey County area. It's about 55% of the population is found here. The area is about 37% of the entirety of the Salinas Valley groundwater basin, which is in the brown line here. The northern Monterey County is in the dashed line to the north. But about 42.5% of water use in the Salinas Valley groundwater basin does occur here in the northern Monterey County area. Next slide. Land use is spread across various types. Irrigated agriculture, though, is quite dominant, as well as non-irrigated agriculture. We have both rural and urban residential, and just minor amounts of industrial, commercial, and then institutional as well. Next slide. Total water use in this area is about 228,679 acre feet per year out of our groundwater basins in northern Monterey County. Again, predominantly for agriculture, but also for municipal and industrial. And of the agricultural water use by source, Brent touched on this a little bit, about 76% of that is from groundwater, recycled water making up about 5%, surface water diversion through Salinas River diversion facilities about 3%, and other various types of water use as well in minor amounts in 3%. Next slide. Just to tell you about the impact of the importance of agriculture here in Monterey County, generates about 4.8 billion in direct economic output, creating about 1 in 5 jobs in the county, and with a total contribution of about 11.7 billion to the county's economy annually. Next slide. Brent has covered this quite a bit, but I do want to again remind everyone that as we think about how to manage groundwater into a sustainable state by 2040, we can't disconnect ourselves from the basic watershed hydrology and physically how this watershed works, how the Salinas River watershed works. And that is that all water uses and sources are interconnected. Our surface water feeds our groundwater, and then our uses continue both with the recycling of water, but also with recharge in certain parts of various basins that we can hopefully accent and get more of recharge happening into the future. Next slide. Biggest challenge out there really is climate variability, which I think is really starting to become the clarion call out there. This will force us all towards a coordinated approach, and it will take us into areas we haven't really thought through maybe in the most sequential way. But when we do have drought, that affects the way that the Salinas River aquifers, or excuse me, reservoirs work. It can also mean less river flow will actually result in less aquifer recharge, and then less surface water for the important use of the Castroville Seawater Intrusion project. As we have less of that, we end up also, ironically, having less recycled water as people start to conserve water in the urban areas. And as we get higher temperatures, longer irrigation seasons, we then start to see an increase in irrigation need. And that increased groundwater pumping can exacerbate the groundwater level declines and then seawater intrusion ultimately. So this is sort of our new reality of how we need to think about the flow of our drought prone and climate change projections into the future. Next slide. And yet we are going to see about a 20% population growth. So we have to figure out how we start to plan for that, along with these various anticipated growth in housing needs, and really looking at how domestic use will be changing over time as people become much more committed to conservation long-term in their water use. Next slide. So this brings us to sort of the kickoff, or the next part of what we really believe needs to be done in Monterey County collectively as water managers, is we need to look across all of these indicators of environmental benefit, good quality water, groundwater sustainability, healthy ecosystems, coastal ecosystems. We can't lose track of the economic prosperity of our existing industries and various businesses here in Monterey County. And ultimately, we all have to define and rely on a definition of what is climate resilient here in Monterey County and Northern Monterey County specifically. That's really the vision of the 21st century water system we all need to start to have the conversation about. And this forum is a great way to kick that off. Next slide. In the interest of time, I think I'm going to skip this slide. This really talks a little bit about what we've got underway, both looking at the threats. I did mention the city of, or the community of Castroville is already has losing drinking water wells. We've started to do some well destruction for wells that may be moving seawater into parts of the aquifer that we do not want to have that seawater get into. We have seen drying of domestic wells, not a lot, but we know that could be the future with an increased drought. And then we have the state not only requiring SGMA coming into being, but also requiring replacement and repair of critical infrastructure, specifically the San Antonio Spillway Repair and Replacement Project that Monterey County Water Resources Agency has to accomplish in the very near future. Next slide. So how do we get from the 75 years of water infrastructure assets we have and move to the new paradigm of a future that is not only a little bit unpredictable, but actually has a little more regulatory oversight than we have before with managing our water resources? Basically, we have to maintain the assets and operate those for the future. Reservoirs are a good example of that. We need to continue to modernize the assets as well, and our partners at Monterey One Water and Monterey and Marina Coast Water District are pioneering in that. And then we need to innovate. We need to acknowledge the regulatory requirements are here to stay. They won't be going away, and we have to be realistic about reaching timelines set in order to make sure that we're at that sustainability criteria when we get to 2040. Next slide. So the first steps that we feel as water managers, to end a little bit here, is really looking at capital asset management. And we use the reservoirs as an example here. We must maintain the infrastructure that we have. Monterey County is very unique in California in that we have infrastructure here that many communities wish they had. They wish they had a recycled water treatment plant. They wish they had some of the things we had put in, the CSIP optimization. These were very forward-thinking things that have gone on here in Monterey County, and we should be proud of those things. But we can continue to modernize those with new technologies and other things that we know will be coming in, because water is the scarcest resource on the planet. So we know there's going to be a lot of focus coming in on modernizing these kinds of systems. And then finally, we need to innovate. We need to continue to do the science, and we need to continue to look at projects that may be groundbreaking in the way that we manage and address the seawater intrusion and groundwater issues that we have up to this point been able to identify for our communities. Next slide. Go ahead for the next one, Sarah. I just want to make sure so we've got, again, a partnership here. This is I call the partnership cartoon. This is how we see our world. This is our world that we live every day. And I think it's important for the board and the members of the community who are watching today to really understand that each of these agency seals represents almost daily conversations that occur between all of the water managers, as well as our partners, Castroville and Monterey Peninsula. Every day, water folks are thinking through the threats, they're thinking through solutions, and obviously they're fearful of the costs, they're fearful of the longevity of how it takes to get something done around water in the state of California. But every day, this is what we're thinking about. We're thinking about this landscape of water, both on the surface and under the ground, for all of our community members that use these resources. Next slide. So we are proposing, as we continue this conversation over the next several months, is that we now bring to you some ideas for regional strategies that will be important to discuss transparently for our community, but also for you as decision makers to have as much information and really understand the science, technology, engineering, those kinds of things that make for a good project. We want to make sure that we bring these projects, management actions, and then have a discussion about funding with both our partner agencies as well as with the county for the most valuable resource we have in Monterey County, and that's our water future. So we very much appreciate the opportunity to present today, and we are available for questions.
Thank you so much for that truly comprehensive presentation. I really appreciate it. And for someone who really likes the graphics, it was absolutely spot on. You made it so simple to follow. And I thank all of you so much for the work that you put into this. I really want to thank you for this. It's just so important for this board and everyone who's participating to have the big picture overview. One thing I want to make sure that my colleagues understand, those of us on the Monterey County Board of Supervisors, is that this study area that you brought forward, Northern Monterey County, includes a portion of every one of our 5 supervisorial districts. So when people talk about, oh, it's, that side or this side, no, this is every single solitary supervisorial district is impacted by what you've presented today. And I think that's extremely important. So what I'd like to do is see if my board of supervisors would like to ask questions or make comments at this point, or if you would prefer to wait until we hear public comment and then make remarks. Could I get some sense of now or later after the public? You'd like to have public comment first. Supervisor Phillips?
Yeah, I prefer, obviously, we're talking about North County, so I have some comments and thoughts, but I'd prefer to hear after board comments or public comments. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Supervisor Alejo. After or before?
Later.
Okay, and Supervisor Lopez.
Yeah, I'm good for now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. So we will go out to the public for questions and comments. And what I will do is start with people in the room. And then I will go to our people who are online. I would love to be able to take the members of the different agency boards first, if that's a possibility. So if you are either in the room or online and you are a member of one of the agencies who's been represented today, if you could please raise your hand now so I would be able to call on you, that would be terrific. Okay, I've just raised my own hand and that's not the way we start. Okay, thank you for this. And looking at my list, I see that for those who are already serving on the agencies represented here today, I see Dr. Tom Moore. Sorry, I'm going to go to the audience first. Is there anyone in chambers who would like to come up and speak? Yes, thank you so much. If you would please approach, and we've got 2 minutes that we're going to be giving each of our speakers. And if you would please announce yourself and what agency that you're with.
Sure.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name's
Two.
all right.
We're not taking this off your time, I promise.
Not at all.
Okay, there you go.
Good afternoon, members of the board, supervisors. My name is Herbert Cortez. I'm the vice president of the Marina Coast Water District. I'm just happy to be here to be able to hear the 75 years of water infrastructure that we have in the county. As representing the board of Marina Coast Water District, our goal is to truly be a regional partner and collaborate and really provide our expertise in making sure that we have sustainable water now and in the future. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else that represents one of the agencies, either on the board in chambers, who would like to make comment? Yes, please come forward.
Good afternoon, Chair. I very much appreciate you, you and our supervisors putting this on. I'm Eric Tynan. I'm with the General Manager of the Castroville Community Services District. And I just want to say that in 2000, when I came on board, Castroville did 1,010 acre feet a year. Now it does 780. Our population has gone much higher since then. So we're doing the conservation, but our wells were lost well 3, which is our most productive well to seawater intrusion. We got seawater intrusion within 2,000 feet of our remaining wells. We don't believe that the deep aquifer is sustainable. I mean, it's a patch now, but everybody's going to the deep aquifer. So we're probably looking for brackish water. But I would like to thank the other, like Donna with the GSA, Paul Shudo and his agency, as well as Brett Pucci has been really supportive and always reaching out to get new ideas. Marina Coast has a very impressive new general manager. I'm looking forward to working with him. So yeah, Castroville, we're in the trickiest place right now. We're kind of the canary in the coal mine. So, and I really appreciate you putting this on because this is what it's going to take to get this done. But like I said, everybody's been real supportive. Castroville really appreciates it.
Thank you so much, Eric. It's great to have you with us today.
Likewise. Take care.
Thank you.
I'm Jerry Lohr of J. Lohr Vineyards and Wines, but also on the 4 Bay. I was on the planning and now I'm on the implementation committee. I think we really are very appreciative of all the effort that everyone is making to work together here. We do know that this is a statewide project and a statewide concern, and that we're in one of the best positions of anywhere in the state. Many places are cutting back, talking about allocations. We may have to do that at some time, but we have 2 of our areas that are sustainable, and those are the 4 Bay with the Arroyo Seco management area as part of that, and then also the Upper Valley. But I think we all realize that there's major concern on the seawater intrusion. I'm 85 years old. I've heard about it for 60 years now. or 58 years, I guess it is. And so now that we're taking it seriously and we can work together, but being a civil engineer, I'm more interested in learning more before I want to support projects, because I've been afraid that projects may get very costly and may have the next generations have to pay for them. So I'd like to see us continue to learn and study, especially like the deep aquifer, some of the other areas, because we still don't know what we don't know in many cases. And so I realize that the importance of doing something in the 180-400, but I'd sure like to see us study before we start committing to major projects. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. It's wonderful to have you here. Your name is all over my dining room where I keep my supply of wine.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Is there anyone else in chambers who wishes to speak before I go to the guests online? Yes, please come forward.
Hi, my name is Jenny Belmeja, and I work with the Central Coast Wetlands Group as the Lower Salinas Valley Watershed Coordinator, which is a position funded through the Department of Conservation Watershed Coordination Grant Program. I wanted to take this opportunity to introduce myself and my role. As Watershed Coordinator, my role is to increase the collaboration between the Greater Monterey County Integrated Regional Water Management Group and the Salinas Valley GSA, and to coordinate the implementation of multi-stakeholder, multi-benefit projects that are listed in the IRWM plan, the Stormwater Resources Plan, and the Salinas Valley GSPs. As has been mentioned throughout the meeting, our water challenges in Monterey County will require a collaborative approach to solve. My focus is on implementing multi-benefit floodplain and riparian restorations in the 180-400 and east side subbasins. And I look forward to working with all of the stakeholders here to ensure that these projects provide the greatest possible benefit to surface and groundwater resources and our community. Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming with us today. Good. Anyone else in chambers who wishes to speak before I go online? Yes. Yes, come on forward. Thank you.
Madam Chair, Mark Del Piero, points of no particular priority. During the entire presentation that's been made today, there's been no reference to the legislative mandates or articulated legislative intent of SGMA that prioritize protection for overlying landowners' senior groundwater rights. I don't know why, but it hasn't been mentioned. And there's a paucity of reference to that in a number of the plans. So I wanted to point that out for whichever agency here believes themselves to be responsible for that. Second, as was interestingly pointed out, the ignorance of state bureaucrats who set housing goals for both counties and municipalities that are not reflective of the resource dependence of new housing is, I think, very appropriately pointed out here today. The people who do the housing goals for the state of California can't spell water, let alone figure out how much is necessary in order to accommodate the housing demands. And I don't have a ready answer for you in regards to how to deal with that, other than give them what they want. And then at the end of 10 years, when it doesn't get produced, say you're sorry. The surplus water conserved as a result of the development of both Lake Naspbiano and Lake San Antonio at this point has been fully appropriated and utilized by the development of irrigated farmland south of primarily Greenfield. Huge amounts of water that were sitting at the time of the construction of those dams has now been fully appropriated. That's one of the reasons why there's a shortage in terms of the overall basin. There was no reference here to the 1991 legislation carried by Assemblyman Fred Keeley that resulted in Plan B that was approved by the California Public Utilities Commission, related to desalination for North Monterey County. I'm not quite sure why that foresight and legislative priority for the development of a project in North County is not referenced. Two other things, and I apologize
you
for
can
taking
wrap
too
it
much
up.
time, but the Rubber Dam Assessment District is currently assessing people in Langley that receive no benefit and never will because water doesn't run uphill. I'll leave it at that.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being with us here today, Mr. Del Piero. I know you used to sit right up here. Okay. Come forward, and then the person who's in the back row on this side will be next after you. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. I'm George Riley. I'm on the Monterey Peninsula Water Management District Board, but I'm not speaking for them. I'm speaking as an individual. I'm encouraged by the kumbaya approach of all the agencies and all the individuals. I just want to point out a couple of things that I think just need to be faced straight ahead. One is there is a history of the lettuce curtain preventing different parts of the county working together. I hope we can put that behind us because water doesn't pay any attention to what we do at the surface. Water has its own dynamics. And it seems to me that interconnectedness, which has been pointed out already, that's kind of going to force us to work together. And I hope that becomes a dominant theme about how we do work together. I would like to make two suggestions or maybe two questions. One, I hope you look at the possibility of a countywide bond issue. I heard that there was some discussion about that in an earlier phase. I don't know when I heard it was pretty much shut down pretty quickly. But I think if there is a potential of that, then that's another way to bring the entire county together to help solve a problem that we all know is real. We all have a role to play in it, whether we're cities or ag or visitors. But how do we get the most out of a countywide approach, a full countywide approach? And my last little comment is I hope agencies don't get prickly about some other agency or some other person telling you what they want you to do. Don't take it as anger. Take it as a possible idea. Because I'm going to suggest that, and I think different agencies are going to tell other agencies what they think they ought to be doing, and yet they're not maybe doing it, and you have the same thing back to them. Don't get so prickly that you can't have a conversation. That's all I'm asking. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Riley. Yes, this person here, and then this one's next. If I had my glasses on, I'd probably be recognizing everybody, but I don't. So forgive me for that. I'm just going to point. Thanks. This person is first.
I'm Walter Bowe. I'm a citizen. I worked on wells in Castroville since 1985. And there's a couple of things I would like you to consider in your deliberations. I think that the problem in Castroville is just a dress rehearsal for the problem that you're going to have in Salinas. We have intrusion at Blanco Road and McFadden Road, which is literally, what, a mile and a half away from the Salinas city line. It takes probably 4 or 5 years to develop an alternative water supply for that, for a city of that size. And the deterioration in property values in Salinas will be monumental if intrusion reaches into the city water supply. So that, I think, should be considered very carefully. As far as what are you going to do? Are you going to drill wells, 800-foot wells, 1,000-foot wells? How many? Or is One Water going to deliver recycled water to Salinas? Or are we going to build a desal plant? None of these are easy. Secondly, Mr. Del Piero brought up the problem of people transporting water out of the aquifer zone into farmland that's not overlying the aquifer. This is a significant problem in terms, and there's so much discussion about limiting pumping through water metering, but there's really been very little discussion about what the end use of the water is that's being pumped. And again, what Mr. Del Piero said, a significant amount of water in South County was coming being diverted into agricultural uses down there. Very large well fields are pumping water out of the south part of the valley. So these are practical problems that need to be addressed. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for being with us today.
Hi, good afternoon. Steve Snodgrass. I'm a North County resident. Just two comments. I'm kind of struck by the fact that we really only went up to Moss Landing. We didn't include the Pajaro Sunny Mesa Water District, which is part of the county. And I served on that board for about 8 years. And we have water quality issues and water issues there as well. We have nitrates in wells. We have arsenic removal systems, and those aren't being addressed by this study. And then I agree with the thing I was struck by as I saw the presentation. I think we need to at least explore the possibility of desal solving some of our problems. Desal does not appear to be in the solutions portfolio that was mentioned, to the cartoon that was mentioned. And I think we need to consider that. And I would actually ask those of you that have been around here a long time, I remember coming up from Los Angeles in 1978, and there was water rationing. There's a good possibility of water rationing this year. If we don't get some rain soon, we'll probably be under water rationing again. And that was 40 years ago. And so we have to get off the dime and find a solution, because this is just unacceptable. And when we talk about issues like affordable housing, you can't have housing if you don't have water. People talk about tiny homes. Do they take tiny showers? We need to have a sustainable water supply that can see us through in times of drought and times of normal rainfall. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your remarks, Mr. Snodgrass. Yes.
Good afternoon, Chair Adams and board members. My name is Horacio Mesquita. I'm with the San Gerardo Cooperative. One of the issues that the community of San Gerardo has been facing since 1990 is the water contamination. Dangerous chemicals like TCP, arsenic, chromium-6, nitrates. And most of these communities don't get much of a help. There's about 235 water systems that are polluted in Monterey County. And we need help. We need someone to start working on these issues here locally, because there's money from the state that can be that we can use here, but we need help to organize these communities and deliver clean water and protect our clean water, because this drought that is happening is very serious. And as this drought continues, you're going to have higher concentrations of nitrates, arsenic, TCP, and any other chemical that is underground. So we need to figure out how we're going to help these Spanish communities, because they're not getting any help. And the help that they're getting is too late. There's communities that have 40 years with contaminated water. So please find a way of helping. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments today.
Good afternoon. My name is John Tilley. I'm a resident of the Monterey Peninsula. I think it's fascinating that both the Sigma came along at the same time as the CDO on the Carmel River came along. It really is prompting action in long-term solutions to our water problems. The Salinas Valley has a history of getting things done. And I think it's time for the Monterey Peninsula to not kick the can down the road any longer. It's been the history of the peninsula. Not rely upon the Salinas Valley to fix our problems for us, but to take the example of the Salinas Valley and look to solve our water problems ourselves. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Tilley.
Good afternoon. I'm Chris Cook, Director of Operations for California American Water. First of all, I appreciate the county's leadership in convening this meeting and to the agencies for presenting. I think it was a great presentation. I think for California American Water, most people think of it in the Monterey Peninsula area. And I just wanted to take a second to remind folks that we do have water and wastewater systems in the 180-400 aquifer, the Monterey Subbasin, and the Langley area. So this would be water systems like Toro and Ambler and Chular and Ralph Lane, and wastewater systems like Las Palmas, Freckles, Indian Springs. With that, as the service provider in these areas, we have data available on water quality, well depth levels, and other information that may be useful in ongoing monitoring and management of these subbasins. We are happy to share this information and participate as desired. I'll also share a copy of our GSA overlay showing these systems are in relation to their subbasin boundaries for staff here today. Thank you again for bringing us together to discuss our shared water resource needs.
Thanks very much for being here, Mr. Cook. Is there anyone else in chambers who would like to make comment before I go to our online guests? Seeing no one coming forward, I will go to our online people. And the first person I'm going to call on is Dr. Tom Moore.
Honorable Chair Adams and supervisors, fellow board members and city council members. I'm Dr. Tom Moore, Vice Chair of Monterey One Water and member of the board of Marina Coast Water District. I'd like to point out a couple of interesting characteristics shared by Monterey One Water and Marina Coast. Both agencies are partners in building and operating the Pure Water Monterey project. However, I would be remiss if I failed to point out that Pure Water Monterey was supported and touched by more than 25 local, county, and state government agencies, along with numerous for-profit businesses. Both agencies were the first builders of recycled water projects in Monterey County, and both agencies sit astride this notional so-called lettuce curtain. Monterey One Water has board members representing government entities from both Monterey Peninsula and the Salinas Valley and serves customers in both areas. Marina Coast serves a significant portion of the Monterey Peninsula, but gets its water from the Salinas Valley Groundwater Basin. And as previously pointed out, Marina Coast is a GSA that works cooperatively with the Salinas Valley Basin Groundwater Sustainability Agency. Almost 20 years ago, Marina Coast developed a plan for creating additional non-groundwater to support the Fora Base reuse plan. As part of that process, I asked various staff members and consultants which would be more expensive, recycled water or desalinated water. At that time, no one was able to answer or willing to answer that question. Right. In the intervening years, Pure Water Monterey has been built, and we have real costs for producing advanced treated recycled water. We also have 10 years of work on forecasts for the cost of desalinated water. This information has completely convinced me that recycled water is half or less the cost of desalinated water. And in that case, we should regionally maximize our production and appropriate use of the various forms of recycled water, and both Monterey One Water and Marina Coast share this goal. So thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today.
Thank you so much for being with us, Dr. Moore. And now I have 10 hands that are raised, so we'll go into those, but I'm going to take a quick personal moment to say hello to my daughter, Erin, who has just gotten in town from New York for the first time in 2 years. So I'm very happy to see her. So moving forward, I know she's watching. Moving forward then, the first hand that I have raised is M. Eccles. Is there an M. Eccles whose hand is raised? If so, please press star 6 to unmute yourself, and we're ready to take your comments. You've been patiently waiting.
No, I've unmuted myself.
Thank you. And you would like to begin your remarks?
No, thank you. I've unmuted myself.
Okay, well, thank you for that. And I will go on to another speaker until you're ready to comment. Thank you. And now I will go to Tyler Williamson.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Alrighty. So hi, everybody. Thank you, supervisors, for hosting this discussion today. I'm Councilmember Tyler Williamson and represent the City of Monterey as a board member with Monterey One Water. Pure Water Monterey is a critical part of the solution of the peninsula's water supply. Since Pure Water Monterey is injecting into the Seaside Basin, it's important to note that the system is technically part of the Salinas Valley Basin, and we need to work together from the perspective of the Salinas Basin. We want to collaborate on solutions as the Seaside Basin is a critical part of the water solution. I also lead the Monterey Peninsula Housing Coalition, and we hope to open space for building relationships with the county. The peninsula also has additional water needs evidenced by the moratorium, and we play a role in a regional solution. We need housing here, which is why we're interested in being part of the solution to help us all get there. And it's not just me. There are other coastal Monterey County electeds that recognize the need to develop housing for the peninsula workforce, many who currently commute from Salinas and southern Monterey County. We support the Marina Coast and Salinas Valley Groundwater Sustainability agencies, improving coordination with the Seaside Water Master, given the Seaside Groundwater Basin is adjudicated. Collaboration is important because what happens below ground will have an impact on the entire region above ground economically. We need to break down silos and hope these discussions lead to a deeper level of community engagement in an effort to educate and hear from the community on resolving these water issues that have created political divides and have been left sitting idle with no clear solution in sight. Thanks again and look forward to the discussion.
Thank you so much, Mr. Williamson. Honestly, that's exactly how I feel about these talks. Let's keep our fingers crossed that we can get somewhere. Thank you. And now I'll ask Brenda Granillo to speak. If you can press *6 to, yeah, there you go. You're ready to roll. Thank you. Brenda.
Hi, good afternoon, County Board of Supervisors and members of the audience. My name is Brenda Granillo. I am the District Manager for California Water Service. I'm also a director on the Groundwater Sustainability Agency. I just wanted to touch briefly on how Cal Water has been participating on the Groundwater Sustainability Agency. We own and operate water systems, including the city of Salinas, Oak Hills, Country Meadows, and what we refer to as our Salinas Hills area, which includes Las Palmas, Toro Estates, Pine Canyon, and Indian Springs. And we also own and operate the water system in the city of King. And so we are in several basins throughout the Salinas Valley. And we have been proud to be representing our agency along with all the other stakeholders throughout the Salinas Valley Basin to help solve our water problems and ensure that we're going to have a sustainable water for future generations. And I just really want to give a shout out to all our customers who have been doing a really good job in conserving water. And I also want to assure the board that we are exploring all options regarding water resources to ensure that we continue to provide our customers safe, reliable drinking water. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Granillo. Next, we have Kevin Dayton.
Kevin Dayton, speaking as a resident of Monterey County. I live in the 5th District. First, thank you, Supervisor Adams, for holding this forum and for the Board of Supervisors for having it. First, I want to praise the people who put together the presentation, A Century of Water in Northern Monterey County, a review and update. And the public should know that there's a link on the county website for this item that goes to that. It's surprising, actually, how many people in Monterey County talk about water without actually knowing all that much about the water flow. And maps, illustrations, charts, tables, cartoons are absolutely essential for people to understand this. When you try to put it into prose, it's very difficult. So I think the more graphics, charts, and tables you have, the better. One issue I'd like to see come up if you have additional forums is how much water is going into Monterey Bay. It's actually difficult to figure out how much acre feet per year is going out from the Salinas River, from the Carmel River, from the Monterey One Water ocean outfall. And I think if people saw those numbers, they would say, how can we store more of that? And how much would it cost to do that? Because that water is going out there in the bay. And I think there's a lot more than perhaps people think. Finally, I encourage you as you continue working on this, what would be really useful is to see every water source and every water use project and just see a monthly table of how much acre feet of water is going in and how much acre feet is going out. Because if you just, each month it's different as conditions change and uses change. It is very difficult to understand water flow with all of these changes that go on with the seasons and with different years. I think there could be a lot more effort for people to understand this if you reduced it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dayton. And next we have Norm Groot.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me okay?
Very well.
Thank you. I'm Norm Groot with Monterey County Farm Bureau, and we've been involved in water here in Monterey County practically since our inception in 1917. And even though I may look it in that picture, I have not been here for those 105 years. Salinas Valley, and what you're hearing today is that we've completed a lot of projects over the last 7 years developing our water resources here, and we're not done yet. We have to deal with seawater intrusion and distribution of water to all our other areas that really need it. And as we were reminded, ag drives the economy here in Monterey County, and water is very critical to agricultural production. Technology has driven irrigation efficiency and has actually reduced our reliance on groundwater because of that efficiency, and we will continue to see technology drive that. But the cost of the projects that we're looking at right now is rather daunting, and we need to further develop our water resources here. And it's the first priority should be to repair our reservoirs, but also to look at all particular solutions that are available, including turning our brackish water area into a resource and using it and managing it properly. Ag organizations like Farm Bureau stand behind the groundwater sustainability plans and the success of balancing our basin and making sure that there's water available for all beneficial resources. And we remain a partner in moving this process forward. So thank you for the presentations today. And thank you, Chair Adams, for putting together this particular forum and the opportunity to speak today. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Groot. Next, we have Mara Hernandez. You can press *6 to unmute yourself, Ms. Hernandez. There we go.
All right, can you hear me?
If you could speak a little louder, I think we could hear you better.
All right, what about now?
Perfect, thank you.
All right, can I turn on my camera or is that not needed?
It isn't needed, but you could if you choose.
Doesn't give me the option, so I'll just go ahead and get started. So good afternoon, members of the board. My name is Mayra Hernandez, and I am a community solutions advocate with Community Water Center. And today I'd like to share with you all about the importance of protecting the drinking water sources of the most vulnerable and often underrepresented groundwater users in Monterey County, including domestic well owners, public water systems, and disadvantaged communities. I'd like to recognize that Monterey County is the only county in California that has a human right to water proclamation. And we are very glad to see you hold this space to learn more about the regional water management and sustainability plans in an effort to further discuss regional water supplies and solutions. You play an important role in ensuring reliable, sustainable groundwater into the future for Monterey County rural residents. Through county data and the Regional Water Board's free well testing program for the domestic wells, we have found various hotspots of water quality contamination in the northern Monterey County region, as well as in the Salinas Valley. And several communities are currently impacted by high levels of nitrate, 1,2,3-trichloropropane, as Horacio mentioned, and other contaminants that impact public health. Now, we have successfully helped community partners in creating community-based organizations And since their creation, we have been holding monthly community meetings to share more information and resources on drinking water sources to help them better understand their current water situation and to know how to participate in current public spaces to ensure that impacted community voices and their stories are heard in an effort to stop drinking water contamination and to ensure that groundwater is being managed sustainably. Now, CWC has been organizing and working alongside impacted community partners to obtain both interim and long-term solutions. And in 2019, we advocated alongside communities across California to pass the Safe and Affordable Drinking Water Fund, for which Monterey County wrote a letter of support. And I'll just end by saying that we really look forward to working collaboratively with you to bring funds to Monterey County to support safe drinking water solutions for all residents.
Thank you so much. Your comments are very much appreciated. Thank you and needed. Next, we have Dan Curran. And if you press *6, there we go, unmuted.
Can you hear me?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, terrific. My letter, I'm president of the Z Ranch Mutual Water Company. We're up here in Corral del Cielo, and I'm in the 5th district. So I know that this talk, this meeting has things to do primarily with North County. But I never want to miss an opportunity to read a letter from our board of directors into the record so that we can go forward with our point of view. So with that in mind, this is addressed to Supervisor Adams. Z Ranch Mutual Water Company is a small nonprofit, privately held, mutually owned water provider for 27 single-family residences on Corral del Cielo that runs contiguous with and overlooks the famed Pastures of Heaven in Monterey County. Each home has an equal interest in Z Ranch and the preservation of our water source. We are charged with running and maintaining our independent water system and have been successfully doing so since our subdivision was created back in the mid-70s. Z Ranch operates 5 wells at an average elevation of between 1,500 and 1,800 feet above sea level. Over time, Z Ranch has amassed data and reports in cooperation with the county health department and other agencies pertaining to water quality and availability. We have very good water. We monitor and keep track of every gallon of water we use and are obsessed with conservation of this precious resource. Rain is the only way to keep our aquifer charged, and we rely solely on this historically available sequestered groundwater. We have no other practical source for our water. Recently, Z Ranch discovered that a new well was approved by the county to service a proposed commercial agriculture livestock farm on a historic grazing pasture adjacent to and below our subdivision. We would like to understand if there was an emergency that triggered the approval of this well, subsequently drilled down to 1,000 feet without hitting water. We are disappointed that the county saw fit to make such an approval without first notifying Z Ranch and other property owners in the surrounding area of potential impacts to our water system and making room for public comment. 2, assessing long-term future water needs for a proposed farm ag operation based on an actual application and plan with supporting reports. 3, requiring a hydrologic study of our area and aquifers in order to understand the carrying capacity impacts created by unrestricted intensification of water use over time in an environmentally fragile area. 4,
I'm going to thank you and ask you, please, sir, if you don't mind wrapping up. But what I would suggest is that perhaps after this, you might be able to make some connection with the Monterey Subbasin, and I think you can get some answer to your questions. But I thank you very much for bringing this to our attention. And next, I will call on Elizabeth Madrigal. And again, please press *6. Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Wonderful. Good afternoon, Chair Adams and members of the board. Elizabeth Madrigal speaking on behalf of the Monterey Bay Economic Partnership. We'd like to thank Supervisor Adams for her leadership in bringing these important conversations to the forefront. The regional context is much appreciated as it is important to acknowledge that all municipalities within Monterey County are affected by this issue to one degree or another. Since the inception of the Monterey Peninsula Housing Coalition in 2018, our team has been collaborating with elected officials on the peninsula who understand the necessity to provide housing to our local workforce on the peninsula, which is in alignment with MBEP's housing and climate change initiatives. Using the city of Monterey as an example, 87% of its local workforce commutes in from elsewhere, largely because of housing unaffordability and lack of inventory to rent or buy. Increasing housing development would help alleviate the chronic housing shortage, help cities meet their regional housing need allocation targets, and drive down both greenhouse gas emissions and vehicle miles traveled. Thank you once again. We look forward to continued collaboration with regional stakeholders in finding sustainable solutions to our water issues.
Thank you very much for your comments, Ms. Madrigal. Next, we'll go to Mayor Allison Kerr. If you can press *6 to unmute yourself. Thank you.
Can you hear me?
A little bit louder.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I am Allison Kerr, the mayor of Delray Oaks. Firstly, I would like to thank Supervisor Adams for bringing this series of meetings to the Board of Supervisors and to our community. It is critical that we embrace all efforts to provide a larger context to help us work together to move away from the regional divisiveness. Our little city illustrates the interconnectivity of what we discussed today. Delray Oaks lies on top of the Seaside Basin, which is part of the Salinas Valley Groundwater Basin. We are working with our neighbors to explore ways to capture as much stormwater as possible along the Arroyo del Rey watershed. Half of our city has an agreement with Marina Coast Water District for development of our former Fort Ord property, and our community has conserved dramatically. I am also a member of the Monterey Peninsula Housing Coalition, this group of electeds focusing on doing our part to provide housing for our workforce, as Tyler and Elizabeth earlier mentioned, many of whom currently live and commute from Salinas, southern Monterey County, and even northern Monterey County. This coalition is also eager to be partners to find regional solutions. We are all aware how intricately tied water is to housing, and hopefully we see how intricately tied we are to each other in our efforts to ensure our water systems are sustainable, equitable, climate-proof, ecologically sound, and ground in good science. Thank you again for this opportunity.
Thank you, Ms. Kerr. And now I'll call on Kim Shirley.
Great. Thank you, everyone. I'd like to thank the supervisors for the discussion today and this opportunity to comment. My name is Kim Shirley, and I'm a council member for Delray Oaks. I also represent Delray Oaks on AMBAG, which has been talking a lot about regional housing needs allocation, our RENA numbers. So as many of you know, jurisdictions are going to be required to complete the 6th cycle of our housing elements this year, which will significantly increase the number of affordable housing units that we're required to plan for. We know how critical affordable housing is for the health of our communities. We also know that many people are again forced to commute from Salinas and southern Monterey County, North Monterey County to the peninsula. And we realize that we need to build housing for these workers on the peninsula. I do hope we can collaborate for water solutions so that our peninsula cities can really play a role in building for housing that we so desperately need. I want to thank you again for beginning this discussion. I do hope this brings greater community engagement and increased knowledge regarding water needs and solutions for our entire region. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Shirley. And now I'm going to someone who has called in, and the last 3 digits of the phone number are 312. Looks like you're ready to go.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, we can hear you fine. Thank you.
Oh, great. Margaret Ann Coppernoll speaking, a Marina citizen. I just want to state I am excited about this inspirational regional water forum, and very proud of our chair, Mary Adams, and our board of supervisors, and all our extraordinary participants. It is an understatement to say I'm so excited about it. I would like to mention that for many years, Gary Peterson worked tirelessly to encourage harmonious working together to create regional water solutions for the benefit of all citizens and all communities. A dream that's being realized in this marvelous forum as a beginning to achieve this goal. Sigma is a blessing bringing discipline to urge us on to make a difference by collaborating and cooperating. Today is a major milestone in moving forward together. Thank you so much, Supervisor Mary Adams, for your courage in putting forth this referral. The future can only be bright and fruitful. So I thank everybody very much for their wonderful presentations and comments today. It's very, very wonderful and encouraging. God bless you all.
Thank you, Ms. Coppernall. And now I will go to John Farrow.
Thank you. I want to thank Supervisor Adams and the rest of the board for holding these water forums. But speaking on behalf of Landwatch, we've participated in the Sigma process. We gather that these water forums are going to result in the potential identification of projects and management actions to deal with regional North County issues. And we've suggested there are a number of issues that need to be resolved as part of that process. And we've put out a report on this, but in summary, we think there are 5 issues that should be addressed. The first is the willingness to pay of the water users. It doesn't make sense to consider projects that will cost more than ag is willing to pay. Right now, the range of projects are from several hundred to several $1,000s an acre foot. It seems unlikely that, for example, $4,000 an acre foot water would be used by ag. So I don't think it should be part of the solution. Next, we should determine water needs and water rights, and that should look in particular at the priority that urban users have as prescriptive pumpers over ag. The equity should show that urban users shouldn't be having to pay $4,000 for an acre foot when ag is paying less. Third, there are equity issues that need to be resolved amongst the subbasins. Right now, there's obviously a huge dispute between North and South that needs to be resolved. Fourth, the resolution, some consideration should be given to whether pumping reductions in lieu of infrastructure projects may be less costly, and they should be considered. Finally, from the enormous suite of projects, these agencies should cooperatively determine the least cost suite of projects that can meet all these needs. As Mr. Laura said at the beginning, we should study these issues first, and we should look before we leave. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Mr. Farrow. Now I'll go to Nancy Isaacson.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Nancy Isaacson for Salinas Valley Water Coalition. Coalition has been around for over 35 years. We were part of helping to form and fund the initiation of the Groundwater Sustainability Agency, been actively participating with the Monterey County Water Resource Agency over those 35 years. We believe that by collaborating together, we can work together towards solutions and that can be supported, much like I'll use the Salinas Valley Water Project as an example, in which all of the ag organizations, many of the cities and the different water purveyors all work together towards supporting that solution at the time. And we were able to achieve about a 95% yes vote, which was really something at the time throughout the state, but certainly for Monterey County. I do want to recognize that the need for the deep aquifer study. These Water Coalition and its members have offered to pay for half of the ag share for that study, because we do recognize that that needs to be completed. And your focus today on the 180, 400 and its neighboring areas is very important. Seawater intrusion is the biggest issue that faces Monterey County. it really does need to be resolved. I think we're all willing to work together. And if we can put a project together, I believe it will be funded and can be supported. So thank you very much.
Thank you for your uplifting comments, Ms. Isaacson. Next week, we'll go to Heather Lucas.
Yes, hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. My name is Heather Lucas, and I also work for Community Water Center and have been active as an advocate from the public, participating in the Salinas Valley Basin Groundwater Agency processes for the last several years. Our organization really wants this agency to better represent and protect drinking water users and their water quality challenges in their plans. And this includes, private domestic wells and those living in low-income communities. It's also a legal requirement, as was mentioned, to address water quality as part of groundwater planning, and impacts are happening now. We see a role for the county to really support improvements for the water quality monitoring network in the current plans, specifically the inclusion of state and local small water quality data that these systems are regulated by the county. Serve 2 to 14 households. In addition to our advocacy, we are actively working for solutions. We're a technical assistance provider for the state, and we implement and support programs for well testing, deliver bottled water, long-term solution projects in places like Springfield, north of Moss Landing, with San Gerardo Cooperative, and with those reliant on private domestic wells in and near Salinas, in near Las Lomas and other places. I just want to emphasize the important role for the county to support groundwater sustainability. And we'd like to know more about how the county is going to work with the groundwater agency to ensure that new wells, specifically, that well permitting is protective of communities like Castroville and others that are facing current impacts. As I've mentioned, there's a lot of state funding, or my colleague, state and local funding to ensure that all Californians have access to safe and affordable water. The state is actually right now exploring funding for regional solutions, including a potential project in North Monterey County. And we really would like to see drinking water issues and water quality challenges and solutions to be highlighted in these regional water forums moving forward. And we're very open and interested to partner with us. So thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Ms. Lucas. Next, we have Brian McCarthy, and then we have Melody Chrislock, and then I will be closing public comment. So Mr. McCarthy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for the presentation. So much that I could really say, but I'll focus on my appreciation to some of the ag community for speaking today and being at the table. As we hear time and time again, ag is among one of the biggest users of water in the area. And meanwhile, one statistic suggests that half of all food grown ends up in a landfill. So imagine that. Half of what all these water resources go to for ag are never consumed. So I'm really looking forward in the coming weeks and months and years to a more honest, candid, and transparent conversation about the ag community, the associated water uses, and conservation opportunities that might exist, and frankly, how they may be funded, and how our community can help agriculture better conserve water resources. So again, so much I can say, but I just will choose that one little area to focus on today because I think it's important and I don't think it gets enough attention. And I really look forward to that area getting some more light and attention in the future. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for your comments. And now we have Melody Chrislock, and then we will be closing public comment.
Hi, my name is Melody Chrislock. I am the Director of Public Water Now. I represent about 4,000 members of the Monterey Peninsula Water Management District who are also CalAm customers. It's astonishing to me. I didn't realize for the percentage of population that the peninsula has in the whole county, the amount of water the peninsula uses is so tiny. 10,000 acre feet for almost 100,000 people is quite astonishing when you look at what North County uses because of all the agricultural use. Thanks to Pure Water Monterey, the peninsula has gone a long way to solving our decades-old water shortage and all of the limitations that has brought us. And with the expansion of Pure Water Monterey, which is close to approval, we will finally have the water we need for housing. But in the spirit of cooperation here today, I wanted to point out that the Peninsula cities for 22 years have been contributing to CSIP and to the agricultural needs. 4,000 acre feet a year, close to 100,000 acre feet of water the Peninsula cities have contributed to CSIP. And I hope that this cooperation amongst everyone can continue and that the county can solve its longstanding water problems. Thank you for holding this forum.
Thank you for your comments, Ms. Krislock. And now I'm going to close public comment and bring it back to our Board of Supervisors for comments. And not before I just stop and thank the staff over and over and over again for the mighty effort you've made. And you've heard the comments from so many of the people in the public now who just really very much appreciate the work that you've done, the excellent work that you've done on this. So with that, I'm going to come back to the board and I will start with Supervisor Alejo if you have questions or comments on today.
As for now.
Thank you. I will go to our representative from the North Monterey County, even though we're all involved in the northern part, as we heard from the fact that each of us has some portion of our district from being covered by this part of our water table. Mr. Phillips.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I'm just waiting for you to tell me what solution you came up with for my North County water problems here. I'm always amazed how well you can get things done. So when we complete this, I'm sure the group can provide me a water solution. But we all know that we have saltwater intrusion up here, and it's worse here than anywhere. And and I'm not into the blame game. We have all contributed to it. I mean, the people who have put more row crops in along the river where it used to be dry farming, but we're farming more up here too. So the bottom line is the water moves from the south to the north, and some of it we're not getting as much as we used to. And we've had saltwater intrusion. It's and it's not just Casterville. It was pointed out by Mr. Snodgrass and others that Pacaro Sunny Mesa is in trouble. In Springfield Terrace, they're on bottled water there. In Prunedale, we have wells going dry. And I think we have to look for an independent water source for Salinas eventually. And so then we only have to worry about our lakes and other ones taking care of agriculture and not necessarily for domestic use. Pure Water Monterey, which I'm on the board of M1W, has done a good job of coming up with a solution for the peninsula, but that doesn't affect and remedy the problems we have here in North County. We have CSIP that's helping deal with inadequate water supply for ag use up here in North County, but that doesn't help us for us who need it for our people to live. Putting wells into the deep aquifer is not the answer. We're all worried about that, and our wells are going dry here. And when was pointed out in the presentation, when we have a projected 20% population growth, when one state agency is telling us out here we have to have ADUs, and then the Coastal Commission staff is saying, oh, well, we don't think you can even have an ADU because we don't think you have an independent water supply. So I think it's clear that North County needs an independent water supply. What that is, if anybody can come up with any other solution besides a desal plant or a brackish water supply plant, I'm more than willing to see it. But I know, being on M1W, we don't have any excess water there. That when they were working on a possible solution, when they were doing the slant wells, we were looking about getting water from Cal-Am to Casterville. That fell apart with that. So we don't have any other viability. Frankly, I think it was irresponsible that the Coastal Commission blocked a direct intake desal project. We should have had this 20 years ago. I'm interested to see what happens down there in the proposal that's being done in Huntington Beach for a direct intake. But we've explored the idea of a brackish water treatment facility, and that could help. It was one of the proposals put out. The piping would be along where saltwater intrusion was coming in, so it would benefit. It would provide a water supply, but also assist and aid in the saltwater intrusion. And frankly, some people talked about cost, but the cost of that, at least what we looked at projection, is less than what we're paying at M1W, Pure Water Monterey. That's up to 3,000 an acre foot now. So it started off at 1,800. It's up to 3,000. And I think a brackish water treatment, since they're not treating with salinity of the degree that you have, and with a direct intake, could be cheaper. But I don't think we have any other alternative but one of these alternatives. And to me, I think it makes sense to have one big facility that a number of people can benefit from. Otherwise, what we're going to be faced with, and I've talked to Eric Tynan about it from Castroville Community Service District. Otherwise, Castroville is going to have to embark on their own little treatment facility for maybe 10 or 11 million. And then Pajaro Sunny Mesa is going to have to do the same. And we're going to have to do the same maybe up in Prunedale. And to me, that just makes no sense. And so that's why I think, and I'm going to push as hard as I can, unless someone can come up with another independent water source for us, that we embark on a desal or a brackish water, and whether it's a private or private-public partnership, I don't care. But we need an independent water source, and it takes some of the pressure off the ag community too, because then the community, the Castroville community, the Pajaro Mesa and Prunedale, we're not reliant upon the lakes and the water that's needed for agriculture. So. Those are my thoughts, and I appreciate you having this, Madam Chair, and I think it is beneficial for us to sit down and talk a little bit about the bigger picture of water. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Phillips. And now we'll go to Supervisor Lopez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with Supervisor Phillips's remarks. I appreciate the attempt to get us all here to learn a little history, but I'll tell you, I've been doing this for probably 14 years. As a member of the county family, and by that I mean researching, learning, and doing everything I can to understand water policies and histories throughout our entire county. And I think that it's probably going to take a lot more of these for us to get that full picture, including just starting with perhaps the agency act from the Monterey County Water Resource Agency to help set the framework for a lot of folks. I do appreciate the conversation, though. I did feel some grenades here today being tossed, and I think that that's normal anytime we talk about water in Monterey County. But focusing on solutions is the key, and focusing as well on solutions that can be carved out of the place that we find ourselves in, specifically speaking to policies that have been put in place to put sideboards in. And so knowing where those are today, I do think that desal is our solution moving forward. I appreciate Supervisor Phillips's comments to that fact. I see a lot of concerns about the lakes, and we all agree that what we need is more rain. We're arguing over paper water at this point and knowing what our capacity is there. So appreciate everybody's perspectives, but I think that we need to really focus on the solutions at this point. Appreciate the forum and everybody sharing thoughts, but solutions at this point should be prioritized. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Lopez. Supervisor Rudascu.
Yeah, let's see. I've got a lot of notes here, so I'm going to try to keep them organized. Supervisor Adams, thank you so much for pushing for this, for asking for it, for organizing it. Thank you to your staff for all the back work that happened to get us to where we are sitting here today. To our water district folks, we've got Brent and Donna and Ram and I think Paul. Thank you and your incredible teams for being willing to sit together to do this work historically today and into the future. I think that the broad messages that I hear, we had about 150 people on the call with us, or on the meeting with us. And I think that when I'm out in community talking about water, and what I heard clearly today is that there is a shared commitment that we need to talk about solutions. There's a shared commitment to engaging in what we know is a difficult, potentially a difficult set of tensions that we've got to figure out how to balance in that conversation. And I hope that that's a takeaway that we can move forward with as we continue these workshops and talk about what some of the solutions that are on the table potentially moving forward are. I think that a couple pieces here. You know, we have technical solutions, right? Like there are technical solutions to create more water. But when we're working in the space, we're not just talking about technical solutions. We're talking about the political environment that exists around those technical solutions. We're talking about what we have and don't have public will to support. We're talking about cost. We're talking about who pays and when they pay. We're talking about so many factors that are outside of our control when it comes to climate change. And sure, like I'd love to do a rain dance and have more rain, but like there are things that are outside of our control that we have to, as we move forward and think about collective solutions, how do we pull all those pieces together? And we may have something that technically is eloquently beautiful and the perfect solution, but if we're moving forward with that without the larger context, considering the impact that might have on the people in the community, we're going to find ourselves sort of, I think, in the same situation where we've been, where we move forward and to one step forward and 3 steps backwards. So I can say that from where I sit today, my commitment is to continue listening to my residents, to the communities that I represent. District 4, we have very distinct communities. I have a number, we cover Calam, we cover the Seaside Water Master, we cover Marina Coast Water District. I've got Salinas. Like there's a lot that's in there with varied interests and priorities. So my commitment moving forward is to continue listening, to continue inviting my community into these conversations to listen and learn, and to really try to find that way to weave the path forward with solutions where we're looking at both the technical, the political, the public will, so that we can get to something that results in the housing that we know we need, that results in sustainable water supply for our economic, our industries that drive our economy and feed our world, literally. So just again, thank you, Supervisor Adams, for pulling everyone together, and thank you for everyone for being so willing to listen, and Supervisor Lopez to catch those grenades and hold on to them for a minute while we continue the conversation. I think that the commitment and the will is here to engage forward and to try to find a way to move forward collectively.
Thank you, Supervisor Rudascu. And I see Supervisor Alejo's hand is up, so your turn.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you, Madam Chair. And I first of all want to say that the efforts to always try to address the future of water sustainability, and water infrastructure is important in every part of California. But I think it's more essential in a key part of our state that's critical not only for agriculture, but for hospitality and many other important industries for our state. If California is going to remain the 5th largest economy in the world, the planning and having the vision to think not only about the next few years, but to think decades and think about our future generations, to make sure that we are planning to meet the challenges and the water needs for decades to come. This today was a start, but we know that these conversations are the easy ones, to have an overview about what different agencies do, to have public comments. That's the easy part. The harder challenge is really coming and saying yes to actual solutions. And that is on many fronts, but it does require us to envision and being open to a portfolio of strategies to meet our water challenges in Monterey County. And I certainly agree that that I know it's a controversial topic, not necessarily the one that's been in the news recently, but certainly looking at desal as a part of our solutions in Monterey County, it should remain on the table. Perhaps the ones, looking at other parts of the county where it could be more strategic to meet our needs in North County, and perhaps in Maslaning, perhaps somewhere else in that area. But I think, having visited other countries who have been the pioneers and trailblazers, such as Israel on desal, it should, if we are to be honest, it should be part of our future water strategies in Monterey County, but so should conservation, so should recycling. And certainly I know Supervisor Lopez and I have been supportive of wanting to see, hope in the future, some projects that help recycle water in the central part of his district, perhaps in Soledad and Gonzales and Chular, and making good use of that resources, and that could create some additional water supply. But we've been very proactive in also trying to draw down money for our water infrastructure needs, not only to hopefully store more water during the wet seasons so that we could have it during the dry seasons, but just the basic maintenance of our current reservoirs is a major challenge. And if we want them to continue to function for decades to come, we do need to have some strategies there and some advocacy efforts, hopefully with this surplus budget, to be able to draw down money so that it's not all put on the backs of local ratepayers. But when the state does have money, that's where that money should be invested, because that investment will last for many years to come as well. So I look forward to the harder conversations. A lot of the information today I know, only because I've been very involved in the issues. I'm part of the Groundwater Sustainability Agency, and I want to commend that agency because it has been a model for the nation, and a lot of stakeholders have come together and really try to put forward an effort. But even then, that agency has a harder effort ahead of us when we come to really implementing what it means to have a sustainable water plans and a sustainable water agency, groundwater agency here in Monterey County as well. So, and I would encourage in the future, like I agree with Supervisor Lopez, there was those grenades thrown. I think, that is where I think it's counterproductive to this effort. If we want to bring more stakeholders here and voices that were not as involved today, or we didn't hear as many comments from them, I think all of us need to be cognizant that if we want to have real conversations that bring people to the table, I think we need a little less of that and a little bit more open-minded and a little bit of more effort towards working towards saying yes to water strategies and solutions within Monterey County. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Alejo. And thank you all so much for your participation. As always, I feel like I learned a whole lot today, both from the presentation that we had, but additionally from comments that came from the audience. And I want to thank everyone for that. Just thinking about a couple of things that were said, just Mr. Del Piero's comments about the RENA numbers and the difficulty that we face here with the different messages from different parts of the state government make it very difficult for us to move forward. We've got the Department of Housing saying one thing, Housing Development saying one thing, and then we have the Department of Water Resources saying something different, and it makes it very hard for us stuck here in the middle. I also very much appreciated Mr. Lohr's comment about we really need to ensure that what we look at and what we study is cost effective, and that it is not such a huge cost impact on any one part of our community. To me, that's a critical issue as well. John Farrow talking about a variety of things, including equity, which I thought was quite important to have built into our work. The area that really troubles me the most of all the things that we saw is the area around the Carretera management area. And I used to think of that as just straight out Carretera Road, but it's much more than that. It's all of the folks who live east of the Laureles grade down to essentially River Road and in. So it's Las Palmas, it's San Venancio Canyon, it's Toro Park, and many of those other neighborhoods. And that's about 7,000 residents who are totally dependent on groundwater supplies there, and they are really facing some serious concerns. Their water level has dropped 25 feet in the last 20 years. So I'm very concerned about the drinking water supplies, just using that area as an example. As we close, though, I'd like to ask Donna if you could please pull back up the last slide that we have, which is about the next meeting that we have coming up. And many people made comments about, we need to talk about what it is that we're going to do now. We've had all of the education. So what's next? So here is what we have planned as next. We want to move into discussing options for regional strategies. It will be a similar high-level look at all of the options that have been identified through the groundwater sustainability plans and other efforts. We want to take all of the comments and questions that we've heard today and factor those into the planning for the next session, which is tentatively set for June 21st at 1:30, right back here in these chambers. As mentioned before, this forum is not intended to be a decision-making process. It's really an educational process for all of us so that it can encourage us and set a transparent platform for us to have discussion about what we can do across agencies toward a shared vision. I think there is not a person who has attended this, whether on Zoom or in person, that doesn't share the same thought. We have a water issue here in our county, and one of the only way we are going to solve it is if we all put our good minds together and come up with a solution that will work for everyone. So with that, I thank you again, without being able to say goodbye, without again thanking Brent Buki, Donna Myers, Sarah Hargrave. The work that you provided for this was just exceptional. And I'm so very thankful that we all had the opportunity to benefit from the knowledge and the expertise and the care that you brought to us today. So thank you so much. Before we adjourn, I just want to mention that we are going to adjourn today in honor of Diane, in memory of Diane Porter Cooley. And I think we have Supervisor Phillips who will make comments, and I know I would like to as well. And then Supervisor Lopez would like to adjourn in honor of Eugenio Salcido. So John, Mr. Phillips, you want to speak first?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, it's with sadness that we announce that we lost a really great lady and was a true leader of the community out here in the Pajaro Valley. She grew up down here in the Los Lomas Ranch near Castroville. She was the only child of Thomas Bishop Porter, and the Porter family played a significant role. Son was the founder, one of the founders of Driscoll Berries, and a legacy that she continued on and devoted a lot of her time to. And some of you know the Porter Vallejo mansion in town of Pajaro. That was where she grew up. And she was one of these ladies that came from a family that had some wealth, and she reminds me a lot of Joanne Taylor Johnson, and they used their position and their wealth for the betterment of the community. She went to Stanford University, and there she met her husband. She also met Sandra Day O'Connor, who was turned out to be her best friend, and she was always, back in the days when I met her, she was always promising to introduce me to Sandra Day O'Connor, who was one of my idols that I always wanted to meet, and never turned out right. She spent a lot of her time raising her family on the ranches, riding her horses in the hills, watching the cattle round up and branding, and doing a lot of the other ones. She was deeply passionate in her civil leadership and was dedicated to All Saints Episcopal Church in Watsonville, which her great-grandfather founded. She was with the Agricultural History Project in Santa Cruz County Fairgrounds. She did a lot at the fairgrounds. She also championed the Elkhorn Slough Foundation. She was very concerned about the environment, the Pajaro Valley Arts Council, the Community Foundation of Santa Cruz County, the Land Trust of Santa Cruz County, and a lot of others. She was keenly aware of the needs to protect and preserve the environment, land, sea, and air, and worked tirelessly to address the issues that threatened the well-being of the Elkhorn Slough, the native species on her beloved ranches, and to make key conservation advances such as environmental easements to protect the farmland. And she donated just a hell of a lot to the environment, and donated property that's being restored to preserve it for people that are coming down the road. She was involved in Nature Conservancy, Water Management Agency. She was Farmer of the Year, District Sega Assembly Woman of the Year, and a lot of others. She was just a grand lady that was totally dedicated to the community and her family. So she will be deeply missed, a real icon in our community. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair,
Thank you, Supervisor.
can I say some words also on this journey
Yes,
member?
Supervisor Lejo.
Just because I, my hometown is Watsonville, and I wanted to just say express my condolences to the family, and I agree with everything Supervisor Phillips just said. Dan Porter clearly was a pillar of the community, a conservationist, a philanthropist, and just a great community leader who really took interest in North Monterey County and Pajaro, helping those efforts to create a park that is utilized every day there by the children and families. And so I just wanted to say what a loss it is for our North Monterey County and for the Watsonville-Pajaro Valley to lose such a great person. Many things, she accomplished many things, but I know it was with her effort and her rich family history that she donated that Vallejo Porter Mansion in Pajaro, which is currently one of our county libraries there for the community of Pajaro. It's a community center. It's a beautiful Queen Anne style home, but certainly a lot of rich history there with Anton Vallejo and her great grandfather, John Porter, had remodeled that in the style that it is today. But many people don't know that her family, the Porter family, has such a rich history. When the Chinese American community was not welcome during the late 1800s in Watsonville, it was her great grandfather that welcomed them to his property just across the river in Pajaro. And in fact, Pajaro was one of the largest Chinatowns outside of San Francisco and in the Western United States at that period, right along Brooklyn Street there. So for me to lose somebody with such a rich history and a family who did the right thing when it was so hard to do it, who stood up for social justice, for me, it's a testament to her family and somebody who lived that history of always giving back and trying to uplift her hometown and her communities and the people that she called her friends and neighbors. So with that, thank you, Madam Chair, and we express our condolences on her passing.
Thank you. I had the opportunity to know Diane Cooley just a little bit, but two things that haven't been said about her is that she was an absolute pistol and she was really a lot of fun. And no matter what it was, whether it was something for church or if it was something to do with, one of the horseback riding cowgirl things that she was involved with, or the club in which we both served, she always did it with just such a subtle, down-to-earth way. She had a lot of elegance, but, she just was a really nice person to be around. And I know the entire community will miss her. And I think we should all just take a page from her book of how to treat one another, because she always did it with dignity and respect. Thank you so much. And now I'll go to Supervisor Lopez.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to send condolences to the Salcido family of King City. We know George, who works for the county, recently lost his mother just a few weeks ago, and then just this weekend lost a brother, Eugenio. And so today I thank the board for adjourning in his memory, and we'll be sending a letter of condolence to the family as they continue to bear this huge loss. The Salcidos are key fixtures in the South County community, specifically King City, quietly, constantly giving back. And so it's a massive loss for all of South County. I can tell you I've received calls yesterday from Gonzales, King City, Greenfield, and Soledad, family members and relatives and friends reaching out to make sure that I knew that we'd lost a giant. And so I just want to make sure we send our prayers to George, Tom, Tim, and the rest of the Salcidos as they go through this tough time. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much. And with that, I am going, yes,
Just real quickly, I just wanted to chime in on Supervisor Lopez's comments, because, you know, we don't often hear about the family members of our employees who pass away. And so when we do, I think it's important to recognize and give our support to the family, because our employees are our family, and George is certainly one of them here in Monterey County. I think as Supervisor Lopez said, it sounds like George, like the others, get things done quietly and just are very effective. So our hearts go out to George and his family.
Thank you. And with that, we will adjourn. And Aaron, I should be home in about a half hour. Thanks.
Thank you. That was a lot of fun.